Paths of Glory is a 1957 war drama directed by Stanley Kubrick and co-written by Stanley Kubrick and based on the novel by Humphrey Cobb. As a general accuses the soldiers of cowardice after refusing to attack an enemy position, their commanding officer must defend them. KINO LORBER presents this film for the first time on native 4K with Dolby Vision and HDR10. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And today, guys, we are going to dive into this KINO LORBER 4K edition of Paths of Glory, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Kino's been doing a great job this year of restoring these Stanley Kubrick classics. We just watched The Killing last month, or I watched The Killing last month. Not sure if you did or not. And he also did Killer's Kiss, and they've been doing this. I think there's another one coming on 4K as well. So yeah, I'm here for it. All the Stanley Kubrick we can get. But before I get into talking about this one, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do 4K and Blu-ray reviews on here. Just tons of physical media content every single day. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like owning the movies that you love, hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to like this video and comment down below, guys. What's your thoughts on Paths of Glory? Have you seen this very underrated, in my opinion, Stanley Kubrick movie? And if not, what's your excuse? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you're going to purchase this based on my recommendation. And then turn on those bell notifications for all future videos. So let's get to talk about this. Let's not waste any more time. This movie, Paths of Glory. So I made it my mission a couple of years ago, back in 2020, to watch all of Stanley Kubrick's main feature-length films. I think I started at The Killing and worked my way up from there. So I haven't seen Killer's Kiss and the two movies that he had before that are hour long. For some reason, I just didn't feel like it was necessary to watch those because they were only an hour. I know they're probably maybe great films, but I didn't hear great things about them. So I just started with The Killing and worked my way up from there. And I did watch Paths of Glory. I actually watched Paths of Glory on YouTube. And I think it might still be free to watch on there as well if you want to check it out before you actually invest in upgrading this 4K. So let's get right into it. I just fell in love with this movie. I just fell in love with this movie from the first time that I watched it, and it instantly became one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick films. And again, I went through his entire filmography, and at the end of it, this is one of the ones that stood out the most to me as just being one of his best. So this is a great movie by Stanley Kubrick. It's probably in my top 4 of his movies. I don't think I can get it above The Shining, of course, A Clockwork Orange, and Full Metal Jacket. That's my top 3. But I don't know. This is a damn good movie, and it's still great. I love this even more the second time that I watched it. But I kind of will say about this movie, what I will say is when you look at the cover and you look at this and you look at the description of the movie, the synopsis, you may think it's just, a regular war film. This is not what I would say, and I think I've called this, I think I've even made that mistake before of calling this a war movie. I don't know if I can fully call this movie a war film. It's not like Saving Private Ryan or 1917, which is another great World War I movie. So it's not fully what I would call a war movie, although there are war sequences in this film for sure. But this is much more of a political drama at its core, because I would say maybe the first 30 minutes, and it's a very short movie, this is only 87 minutes long, but the first 30 minutes are more dedicated towards the war and the scenarios in war and stuff like that. The horrors of war, if you will. And then you get into the last hour and it's much more like political drama, and there's a trial that takes place. It's just a great movie though, with just some great themes that are still very relevant to today, and just one of the greatest best leading performances I've ever seen by Kirk Douglas. Michael Douglas's father is in this movie as Colonel Dax. It's a phenomenal performance. He absolutely commands the screen in this film. There's a moment at the end where he's screaming at his higher ranking officer, and it's just so impactful. I'm just like, that's why you get Kirk Douglas to do a movie like this. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in my entire life. He's so good. There's heavy themes of leadership, cowardice, what it means to be a soldier in a time of war. Just so much going on in this movie, just from the start of it all the way to the end. And it's all extremely powerful stuff that just resonates with you on a deeply emotional level. And there's a lot of people that would call this an anti-war movie. I think it's actually billed as an anti-war movie on Google. And I can definitely see that by how over the top and just villainous the movie paints those higher ranking officials. Like the general in this movie is really a despicable individual, and we'll get to him here in a second. But not only does it paint them as like villainous, as just not good people, but also just makes them feel like they're incompetent imbeciles at times, like they just don't know what they're doing in their positions. Kind of goes into the questions of, you know, just the wartime mentality. Is it right to send those into battle to die just to advance a position? Like the whole like first half of this movie is based on the general coming in and just basically telling Kirk Douglas, like, look, you guys got to take this anthill. You got to take this position tomorrow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Do it. I don't care how many people die. You all have to do it. And Kirk Douglas is just kind of like, look, I don't want to lose my men over something that, you know, is not winnable over. So you definitely sympathize with Kirk Douglas in that situation, especially me. I've been in that situation before where you're a leader of people and you want the best for them, but you have a boss that's trying to make you do what's in your mind not the best for them. And you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I definitely sympathize with Kirk Douglas. You know, you're dropped into the shoes of a leader that's constantly questioning his own morality and position within the established military structure. There's so much of this movie does to give you every perspective in a military wartime scenario, and it's just masterfully executed. Like you get the perspective of the soldiers, of the captain, of the general, just all of the different like positions within this military structure, just giving you all these different point of views, and just as they converge together under, you know, again, they're all united under one goal, but they all have different point of views and perspectives as to how to go about winning this war. But just great performances by everybody in this movie. George McCready is also, in addition to Kirk Douglas, a real standout in this movie as the general. He's a guy that's such a despicable individual, and you just really love to hate him in this movie, but he just does a great job of just getting under your skin and just be like, look, dude, I just really don't like this. There's almost nothing redeeming about this character, and he just acts the perfect counterbalance to Kirk Douglas and his character in this movie, and they're just at odds the whole film, and it's so beautifully done, the interplay between those two, and they just have great chemistry together as they're bouncing back and forth, and such incredible tension between them as well, because Kirk Douglas, he won't always, you know, say what's on his mind, but every now and then he'll let something out there. And it's just great the way they play. That tension is just beautifully built and, you know, just permeates throughout the entire movie. Direction just top notch by Stanley Kubrick. Again, this is one of the best Stanley Kubrick films. I cannot say enough. Not enough people have seen this movie. You guys really need to watch this movie if you haven't yet. But just some great moments of tension on and off the battlefield. Again, there's some war scenes, but there's also, you know, a trial that takes place, some backdoor like political dealings and stuff that are just really well done and orchestrated, and he just did a great job. There is, like I said, a big battle set piece moment in this film, and it's beautifully filmed, especially not even for the time. Like I think that even if it came out in the movie today, it would look great, but it's such a beautiful like battlefield set piece in the film. So you definitely do get some of that. And the movie doesn't, by the time you get to the end of it, like you think it might go one way, and it really doesn't go that way. So it really doesn't give you what you'd expect. It's not a traditional like cookie cutter ending, which I have to imagine like back in 1957 was a little bit jarring for people to actually watch on screen, which is why maybe this movie wasn't even nominated or got any Academy Awards or anything. I don't know what won Best Picture in the year of 1957. Maybe somebody can comment that down below, but I don't know what movie could have been better than this one in 1957. This is such a great movie. Again, it's not my personal favorites of Stanley Kubrick, but it's definitely one of his best, with maybe the most to say out of any of his films that he's done. Just everything that he brings together here. And he would get back into like the political satire of war and all that stuff with Dr. Strangelove later on down the line, but nothing hits harder the themes of war and just political propaganda and just all the stuff that he, you know, portrays and brings out on screen here. Nothing hits harder than what he does in this movie and the messages and the themes that he brings here. So my score for this movie, I think it's a perfect movie, to be honest with you. I was trying to, you know, dig into maybe some flaws, but there's really none. Again, it's very short. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It just, everything in this movie has a purpose. There's not a dull moment. You're just completely captivated and captured by every sequence of dialogue on the screen, and just everything is perfect about this movie. So I got to give this a 5 out of 5. I think it's a great movie. If you have not seen it, definitely check it out. But let's get into the actual transfer itself. So this is a native 4K transfer with HDR10 and Dolby Vision. And this is a new exclusive, brand new restoration from KINO LORBER. So KINO LORBER actually did the work themselves to restore this film. This is not based off of a previous 4K scan, because the criterion that came out, I believe in 2010, was a 2K scan. So this is nothing. This doesn't take any materials from any other previous releases. This is a brand new exclusive restoration by KINO LORBER, presented in the aspect ratio of 167:1, and the original aspect ratio was 166:1. So it does shave a little bit off of the edges of the screen there, but the picture quality here, guys, let's get into it. Again, I just gushed about the movie. I'm just going to gush about this release in general. It's just so beautifully detailed, and the clarity on this, I've honestly yet to see a film from this era with this kind of clarity on it, on the actual like picture quality. Like, it looked excellent. I'm struggling to think. I'm trying to think of some 50s movies that I've seen in 4K, but this I feel like is by far the best that I've seen from this era. And I just watched The Killing, which I think was from 1956 in 4K. That was a great 4K transfer as well, but this one I think blows it out of the water, and it's just one of KINO's standout 4K releases that they've ever done. So I have not watched the Criterion edition of Paths of Glory, but I have to imagine that this one is superior in every possible way as far as like actual picture quality. I mean, that's 12 years older than this, so this has to blow it out of the water. So if you have that Criterion edition and you have some reservations about upgrading this 4K, I'd say just clear all that from your mind and just buy this 4K. If you're a fan of this movie at all, you have to see this movie with this picture quality, because it looks excellent. And it's just, the facial detail is incredible. The HDR provides some deep blacks that gives this film so much depth and substance. The nighttime sequences, that nighttime sequence where they're all like, you know, crawling on the battlefield at night, and they're trying to, again, don't want to spoil anything, but there's an objective involved and they're trying to get something accomplished, but they're all outside, and it just, everything looks incredible. Even in the night, you can see everything. There's just such depth there. Everything's so well lit, and just all the details, you could see everything, all the background. It's so incredible. Every single detail is noticeable, and there's a light amount of grain, but they really did an excellent job of cleaning up this picture. Like, there's a little bit of grain that you notice in some sequences and scenes, but it's really light. So they did an excellent job of this. Again, I think it's one of the best. I feel like I say this every single time I review something or KINO LORBER, but it's one of the best 4K releases, 4K transfers that I've seen all year. And it's definitely, I'll go ahead and say it right now, it's the best 4K transfer that KINO LORBER has done this year of the ones that I've seen. I just thought they did an excellent job with this 4K transfer. So it's no slouch in that department. Let's get into the sound. This is a DTS HD Master Audio 2.0, so no Dolby Atmos or 7.1 or anything like that, so a basic audio setup. Packaging, this is a nice, you know, kind of classic art image of it kind of, you know, brings out a little bit of that classic poster image and adds a little bit more coloring to it. And I love how, I don't remember if they did this with The Killing or not, but I love how Kirk Douglas' character is black and white with that red in the background, so really good you know, artwork on the cover of this. Then you got on the inside, I'm going to show you the front and I'm going to show you the back right here. And again, we'll get into the special features here in a second. This is 88 minutes long. You'll open it up. Again, it's just that plain disc. You don't get any booklet or anything inside, so it's really kind of bare bones. And you only get the 4K here, which is something that I feel like KINO LORBER is kind of hit or miss on. Sometimes they'll give you the 4K and the Blu-ray, and sometimes they'll just give you the 4K. So I wish they would go back to giving you the option of having both. Again, for what they charge, I think that they could stand to slide a Blu-ray in here as well. But I'm not going to complain too much because, again, the 4K is just incredible. And that's really what you're buying this release for. Getting into the special features, you do get a new audio commentary here from novelist and critic Tim Lucas, and then you get some theatrical trailers, but that's it. This is really kind of a bare bones release as far as special features because you do not get any of the special features that were present on the previous Criterion release. So if you do have that Criterion and you do want to upgrade to this 4K, you're gonna have to keep that Criterion if you want to keep all those special features because they didn't port any of them over to this release. But they did give you a new audio commentary, so there's something to say for that. However, I will say I did listen to some of that audio commentary. I listened to about 20 minutes of it. The guy that's talking about this movie is extremely dull. He does have some insightful things to say about the movie, but he's extremely dull and it was incredibly boring to listen to, at least for 20 minutes. Now, maybe it got a little bit better after that. He just wasn't entertaining at all as far as how he was talking about and describing the film. And it's just him. He doesn't have anybody to bounce off of. So not a great audio commentary from what I've heard, but again, I haven't heard the other audio commentary in the Criterion release. And yeah, I think there was tons of like interviews with Kirk Douglas and Stanley Kubrick and stuff on the Criterion. So if you have that Criterion and you want to upgrade, don't get rid of the Criterion, keep that in the collection because that has the special features. You can get this right now, guys, for $25.98. And look, I'm gonna have to recommend this at the end of the day because I think that you're buying this for the 4K transfer of this movie. The movie's excellent and they absolutely kill and deliver on this 4K transfer. This is just one of the best of the year, but again, lacking in special features. So if I had to score this entire release as a whole, I would probably give it a 4.25 out of 5. I'd bring it down a little bit for the lack of special features, even though it does include an audio commentary. So I'd give it a little bit of credit for that. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just beautiful picture quality. It's an excellent movie. If you have not seen the Stanley Kubrick movie before, I absolutely recommend it. So that is my review, guys, of Paths of Glory on 4K from KINO LORBER. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, I will link that down below in the description if you want to purchase it based on my recommendation. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video. Comment down below your thoughts on this movie. Turn on the bell notifications and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.